Yeah.
Yeah. Dancehall. Well, dancehall is, you are saying, or defining it, I don't know. It did not start as dancehall then. It was a development Yakapa from the reggae that we used to play in the early 80s, or late 70s, early 80s. And the first effort to popularize that was initiative here, Africa Sound, when guys like Garkerukure, Power, Temere, and Murera, Mateo Chipanda. Yeah. When they came back from Babylon, where they were studying, when Zimbabwe was independent, they brought a sound system. Right? Massive man-built amplifier. Actually, came out of, you know, heavy sound, heavy drum and bass would come out of that. So they hooked up since when and when I stayed in Bari, they organized a venue, YWCA, Young Youth Center or something like that, which became a regular venue every Saturday. So they used to set up the sound every Saturday, and all of Harare used to converge there to listen to reggae music all night long until in the morning. Because in those days there were no lifts, night lifts or transport, so people would just, you know, spend all night dancing, prancing, and having fun. So this was the beginning, right? And then from them it developed or motivated other people who would have wanted also to do the same, right? Like trying to build a sound, and you know, I know people like Amachkwana who studied Wadada sound. It was small though. Then of course along came Jabi, who was an associate of Power and them in the UK. Then he was selected then. But even me and many people during that time, we also were part of the crew. I was also selecting and toasting then, right? So with that development, along came a white guy. His name was Jerry Dixon. He built a massive sound, or he brought it with him, I'm not sure, from Cape Town. Because he was also running away from apartheid. Because when he was in Africa, he used to play in multiracial audiences, and his system they did not like that. So he was persecuted most of the time, so he ran away. Brought the sound to Zimbabwe, and that gave birth to other sound systems too, or some passes with the high space system. First was Jabi moved from Africa Yuan, and he used to hire this guy's sound and called his sound Level Vibes. Alongside guys like Farai Shambare, notably Mickey Dread, Mixen. They were his anchor boys. And then there were guys who also hired the sound, Landaro Workers, and then Motsu Ruka were using the same sound.
Unity
was using the same sound. Yeah, so quite a lot of people. Then, as you can see, there were already five different sounds operating. Then that was in the around 82, 83, thereabout. And then that wave went on through to the late 90s, and more sounds were developing. And I happened to be one of the guys with What Did I Sound, which then we transformed the name to Audio Active. We used to go to Kadoma, Mutare, Chinoi, different places, you know, and try to play reggae music all night, which was very strange for the audience there. They could not understand it. I mean, how come we can, you know, do a thing like that? But they would complain in the early hours of the evening. You would soon find later in the night they're dancing and enjoying, and nobody would complain, you know. Because the MCs would throw positive messages and positive communication to the audience, and it was really gathering momentum. And you could see there was development, more and more crowds. We used to spice up the reggae music with an African dress sense, style and fashion show and things like that, just to, you know, then that it can appeal to young ladies, you know, and which was a success. I remember in Cooksville one time when I moved to Chinoi to start up Tiriwangwe Pase, we brought in Level Vibes and did a show that was just so packed. Cooksville was so small for the turnout. And Jerry Dixon was showing still footages of conscious pictures of, you know, positive Pan-African messages and all that. It was very interesting for the people. It was nice, really nice. Yeah, then it went on until there was a feeling to play this music live, right? And I helped a guy called Ashanti to put together a band called Nastafari. I brought in Roger Magore as bassist. I brought in Zenyika to play keyboards. Yeah, and then reggae was now being played live for the first time in the country. Though, of course, a few gospel artists had tried to play a bit of reggae tunes in the gospel. But it was not like they were identifying themselves with reggae music as such. It was just like picking a melody, a simple melody, to play the gospel tunes. So then, after that, then for sure, then there was the development transit crew, and during this time I'm talking about when all the sound systems were playing. That's when the sound, the rhythm itself was transforming, right? From the roots rock reggae that we used to play, we started to hear new sounds from people like King Kong, produced by George Feng, became the new producer then of Slang Tang. Bam, 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 bam. You know? That was the beginning of the digital era, right? So the music then suffered an identity crisis. Some people would call it dancehall, some people would call it digital, some people would call it REGGAE, and so many names started to develop until finally dancehall became the final name of late. So this is why I was saying the term dancehall evolved from roots reggae, then lovers rock, dancehall, I mean, then REGGAE and all that. But now that's what everybody now calls is dancehall. It's the dance music, which has got no, say, a real need to have like conscious messages as it used to be, you know, before. People in dancehall are just singing about different subjects, sex and all these things, you know, guns and whatever. But then, of course, after that development, you could company all the live bands now. Yeah, then, because in that time, it was very difficult to import equipment to the country. Or let's say, Zimbabwe was in the policy I mean, because of the shortage of foreign currencies, you could not import certain commodities, right? And sound system gear was considered a luxury, so you cannot get foreign currency for it from the Reserve Bank then. So, but reggae music was getting popular, more and more popular. And there were people who could not come to the ghettos where the reggae music was playing, but wanted to hear the reggae music in town, right? But then there were clubs in town, right? Start time, Rumors, for example, right? Where in the clubs there was discos and sound systems already, right? So it was easier for the crews to have their bag of records and go to the discotheque where there was a sound already, and it was like a reggae Tuesday, and then they became very popular. And everybody from uptown, downtown was converging there, you know, to listen to that. And with that, after some time, many more sounds then followed suit, negotiating with different club owners to start their reggae nights. All they need to do just also have a bag of music, and then they could go to the venue and play. So that's how it was popularized then. And then, of course, spread out into other towns and cities, Bulawayo, Gweru, and all that.
Do you remember any sound from Fakosi?
Of course, there was Redemption Sound. Of course, there was Redemption Sound, Gavi.
And Unity Sound.
And Unity Sound. Zua, Mafumo, Isaiah. Yeah.
Go back to the Unity Sound.
Yeah.
Start from Unity.
Well, the Unity Sound, we also used to use sometimes Dixon play system. And they were the ones who were really responsible for, before they get into the sound, they were doing posters for other sound systems. They had a screen printing workshop where they're designing t-shirts, posters, and all that. So it used to be a gathering place, Unity along opposite Queen's Hotel, it was along Yarada Street, right? In Kagobi. It was in Kagobi Street. I mean, all day you go to Unity, it was a hangout of all Rastas and sympathizers and reggae lovers. And so ideas would evolve until Unity started their own sound as well. So, I mean, I've just mentioned these few, there are quite more other sounds that were in Chitungiza and
okay, talk about Dandaro and the people that were involved, if you remember them.
Dandaro and
General Takunda.
General Takunda, yes. And Anagagiza and all this. Rasekiwa, yeah. All these people in the Naro, yeah. And then Motsuruka. It was Motsuruka. All these passes, yeah. Things used to happen then. And then, of course, in between, there was a lot of reggae music being promoted in the country, you know. That's the time when we saw bands like Misty Roots, Aswaj, King Sounds, Gregory Isaacs, Third World, Dennis Brown. I mean, quite a lot, isn't it? UB40 also came twice. Yeah. So all these things added up to the motivation, and I remember in 1997, ZBC did 87, ZBC did a survey, and reggae was the most popular music in the time, right? And I think that position is again